Good afternoon. Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Bill to do a roll call for the quorum purposes while Angela is on vacations.
All right. Abadili.
Present.
DeMello.
Present.
Hearn, present. Kashulik.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Sampu.
Present.
Administrator Ed Hoops.
Present.
Staff member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
Agent Brady Hill.
Present.
All present and accounted for. You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December the 9th, 2025 at 3 p.m. for the applications of Andrea Yamatlovich, C.J. Riley Builder, Inc., Yasmin's Condominium Trust, Diego L. Ayala, Gregory LeBlanc, and Elaine Kirschman, Alicia L. Fix Trustees, Fox Island Row Realty Trust, Laura Bass Trust, Trustees, 364 Wyandotte Avenue Realty Trust, Mass Audubon. This hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending email requests to @hoops@230 South Street, INS. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this hearing. Hearing none. This afternoon's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisement. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participations. The Conservation Commission public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed up by the Governor on March 28, 2025, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The hearing will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2. The real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing Zoom link 826-0736-4719 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email their comments to edwin.hoops@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. For your information, the last two NOIs this afternoon for Laura Bass Trust, 364 Wyandotte Avenue Realty Trust, SE3-6339, the applicants have requested for a continuance without testimony to January the 6th, 2026. And the last NOI for Mass Audubon, SE3-6335, the applicants has also requested for a continuance without testimony to January the 6th, 2026. We have a long agenda this afternoon. Please keep your comments within our jurisdiction in the State Wetland Protection Act and the local ordinances and regulations. Is Lena here?
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay, thank you. The first item under the all new business is the annual report for the Sandy Neck. Welcome, Lena.
Good afternoon, Nina Coleman. I am the Director of Natural Resources, as well as the Sandy Neck Park Manager, here before you to provide you my annual report as required by our orders of conditions that run Sandy Neck Beach as an off-road vehicle beach. I'm hoping that all the commissioners received the materials, and I'm not sure if it's going to go up on the screen, but I will start with a report about our 2025 plover population. This year we had 59 pairs, which is extremely good. We continue to have a very robust population of plovers at Sandy Neck. We had very high egg mortality from predation as well as washover. And so from those 59 pairs, we fledged 59 chicks, which is a 1 chick per pair reproductive rate. The state does shoot for 1.5, but it was a low year statewide. I remind the commissioners we run under a habitat conservation permit. This will be a number of years in a row that we've utilized a 3-take, both state and federal permit to deter plovers from the first 0.5 miles of beach so that we can keep our beach open to off-road vehicles. The deterrence that we use is raking as well as cover boards, which we use pallets. And we are, it looks like Ed's putting it up. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate
Thank you,
that. Every year it gets harder and harder to deter our plovers from that first 0.5 miles of beach, but we've been very successful in finding that balance between providing access for recreational vehicles while still protecting the birds. Our birds that we do deterrence on their nesting activities have as good, if not better, reproductive rates than the rest of the population at Sandy Neck. So we're definitely proving that we can have recreational vehicles and still do our jobs correctly. Diamondback terrapins is the next bullet point. Our diamondback terrapin population continues to increase. We had yet another record-breaking year of 649 nests. And of those, we are actively, through a permit, pit tagging females that we catch in the act after they nest. We have pit tagged a number of females, and we're learning that they're doing more than one reproductive effort a year, which might be why our numbers are going up. Along with these warm summers, these animals are able to do multiple reproductive efforts. We're also continuing to collect through our permit a number of nests of diamondback terrapins and head starting them throughout the town and mostly through schools, but other agencies as well. It's wildly popular, wildly productive way of teaching our young people about native wildlife and protecting habitat for our creatures that live with us. So always a very popular program. You should see them throughout town. They are in town hall as well. So we did 39 turtles to 31 organizations. And then if you would slide down, moving into terns, these terns continue to do very poorly statewide. A little better this year with 171 pairs. However, reproduction rates are very low, and it's the same culprits, predators, mostly coyote and fox, and washover events as well for those guys. In 2025, so it would have been fall 2024 into the winter of 2025, we had a number of sea turtle rescues. We now do the entire Sandy Neck all the way to Scorton Creek. We have an agreement with Sandwich, and we do basically 9 miles of patrolling, day in and day out, middle of the night, whatever it takes, as well as staff walks the Barnstable Harbor all the way up to the Mass Audubon property. So we're hiking all through, you'll see us hiking all through Scudder Lane, all of those open spaces where we could get turtles. So we are in the middle of turtle stranding season. We've only had, the Cape Wide, we've had around 600 turtles. Most of those have been not on our beach because the wind has been primarily out of the west this year, but we're waiting. So pretty soon we'll start seeing them. And then if you go down, Ed, as you know, I've been doing restoration efforts at Sandy Neck for 25 plus years. We continue to restore our freshwater wetlands and as well as our salt marsh, and we're in the maintenance phase. So it takes not as much of an effort as it used to just to go in and double check all those areas and weed out the odd invasive. So we've been after Phragmites, a very invasive grass, bittersweet, purple loosestrife, all of the usual suspects that may pop up in our wetlands and uplands as well, because we do spotted knapweed, which is a nasty one, And that's on our primary dunes, and you'll notice there is no spotted knapweed at Sandy Neck, whereas our other beaches, it's taking over the primary dunes. All right, next page. I'll be happy to answer, or I guess at the end, Mr. Chairman, I could answer questions. It's always a little weird in Zoom. You're not sure if you're even on mute, you know, but I shall plow forward here.
Yeah, go through and then we can ask the question, open up for the commissions.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tom. All right. Citations were about average this year, maybe a little more citations, a little less verbal warnings, but that kind of falls within, you know, who the staff are and the particular situations that they encounter. We are on our 5th year of very few alcohol related issues, which is great. Certainly, emergency response continues to be about the same as well. And some of those are alcohol related, but a lot of our enforcement is not any longer. So we really are creating that barbecue vibe out there, if you will, people enjoying themselves, being respectful of others. And we're looking for more of a family beach, and we seem to have achieved that. Moving down to financials, we all know that money makes the ship run. So if you go down a little bit more, Ed, I'm assuming that's who's running that. We made $1,338,000 and change, which is right on par with past years. We always do our projections low, so we run on surplus every year. And so we have what we call a rainy day, you know, fund in case something goes wrong, but also we are able to use our surplus for our coastal resiliency project that we're right in the middle of, and I'll speak to at the end of this presentation. But we had banked enough money to put $1 million sort of cash towards that, as well as a number of grants through Coastal Zone Management and MVP grant. And so that project is almost completely funded, which is amazing. If you go down, number of offered vehicle permits sold is about average this year, with 4,000. Pardon me. And the number of camper nights is about the same as well, in the 3,000 range. Next page. Escorts are about where I want them to be. We had that one spiky year, which was really just one family. We had a conversation with them and they reduced the amount of escorts. Escorts are staff-driven escorts of property owners, Sandy Neck cottage owners, down the front beach past unfledged plover and tern chicks. We would rather they use the marsh trail. It's less staff time, and it is also less likely, reduces the probability of a plover being run over. So 17 this year, that's about right. Those are usually around high tides when the marsh trail is too flooded. Hunting is the same as it's always been. We've been talking for pheasant. No deer hunt this year because of our project. Tent camping is primitive tenting, hike-in, 284 nights. That has gone wild since it made it on like Outdoor Magazine or something, and everybody sort of picked up on that. That's all done now digitally through reservations. 2-well camper tests, those are for new campers to make sure they can traverse the beach. Special permits is all of your gatherings, your weddings, 24 of those. We still have horses on our beach, 29 permits for horses. So that's the multiple times that they're on the beach, but that's how many are permitted. We continue our walks and talks with BLT and Mass Audubon, so 5 of those, 3 with Mass Audubon. We have a number of beach cleanups that we do every year. We continue with our junior ranger program. In fact, I'm starting to hire my junior rangers that were junior rangers when they're 9 to 12, and now they're coming back and being hired, which is an absolute delight. Halfway House, 5 permits, mostly the Cape Cod Art Association and Sturgis. And we're trying to find somebody to pick up for the Sturgis now that Pete Sampu is retired. And as we know, there are portable toilets on the beach, 8 units. With regard to our coastal resiliency project, extremely exciting. I invite any commissioners that want to have a look at it. Reach out to me and I'll give you a tour. We have an extremely, I like to call it juicy dune, very large, very wide dune that we have created by trucking in sand. I'm not even worried at night when we have the winds howling. So that's all been contrived. The gatehouse has been moved. Parking lot is being pushed back. I personally spent a lot of time salvaging plants from the area that we ended up having to go in and bulldoze and using those plants on our primary dune. So just transplanting them, I'll see how that goes. Even if 50% of them work, I think that's good, better than buying other material. Our grant required lots of outreach, so a lot of like technical outreach to colleges and high school age students, so a lot of outreach. A lot of professional groups have been coming through Sandy Neck. I've been presenting at conferences with regard to this project. CZM says it's a good example of a town doing everything right. So that makes me really happy. In fact, we have conservation agents coming tomorrow from other towns here on Cape Cod. And one of our grants required extensive outreach with our environmental justice community. So that's been very rewarding as well. We've pulled in kids from High West, and Barnstable United brought them out to Sandy Neck. Some of these kids had never been to Sandy Neck. Some of these kids had not been to the beach very much, learned about a lot of different interesting things, and really just tried to give them an opportunity to get excited about the outdoors. And so while we're at it, we actually engaged our shellfish crew to do that as well with those different schools. So we're getting our young people in Hyannis exposure to shellfishing and shellfish topics. So that's my year in brief. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lena. I'll talk to the commission and see whether we want to do a site visit to the Sandy Neck to look at your constructions on the coastal resiliency projects stuff. I kind of watching it on the web site in terms of the project status and so forth. So, John.
Hey, Nina, welcome back. It's great to see you every year. It really is. It's exciting. Two quick questions. One, and beyond conservation, do you have the resources that you need? Second question is there anything this commission could do to support your efforts that we are not now doing?
Yeah, thank you for both of those questions. Yes, Sandy Neck is extremely well funded. We obviously, the vast majority of it is driven by offered vehicle permit sales. And so we're doing really well. We are asking for some seasonal staff raises this year because everybody's struggling with filling seasonal staff. But that's more of a Cape-wide problem and not really a money problem. And I appreciate that other offer. I really would love to have you guys come out and see the project and maybe brainstorm with you on ways of getting this information out to the world through, your conservation associations, because I really am excited about this project. I really think it's exciting. It's setting us up for success. I hiked with my family to the Sandwich side. I should be a little careful what I say here, but they had put out millions and millions of dollars of sand, and it's already all gone. And it just confirmed how important it is to not put all the sand into our basically our ocean by putting it out, in front of where the dune wants to be. Pulling all that stuff back, setting us up for success for the next 50 years is super exciting. So I do hope I can see you out there.
It's been a few years since I've been personally out there. And so Tom, if you could arrange something out there, that would be very helpful to me. I know that Peter, you're very familiar with it because you're on that board, I guess. But for the rest of us, it would be great to have a meeting out there.
Yes, definitely. I will reach out to the other commissioner. I think Jeff and Rob have a chance to go there. I assume because they kind of knew the same thing for Bill. Nice to go and look. Peak.
Yeah, so Abo, my dad moved here 45 years ago because of Sandy Neck, and I was aware of Sandy Neck almost 60 years ago. What I would like to add, though, to here, and Nina, this is something that's important as to the success of this project. This is based on sound science and coastal engineering. We are not trying to do things that the world, nature, rising sea level is going to erase in a matter of a year or two or three or four. This is proactive, and it's really based on sound science. So we, as a community, do acknowledge that science is a valuable tool for our future environmental health and recreational health. So thank you.
Peter, you're still on the advisory board?
Yes, yeah, I'm the vice chair over there.
Okay, super. I thought so.
Yep. Any other question or comment from the commission?
Jeff?
Yeah, Tom, I got a comment and a question. First of all, one of the most impressive lines is the last line in under revenue, earnings on investments. If you look at fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 25, that's about a 700%, 700 or 800% jump from 7,600 to 55,000. And just curious, how that happens.
Oh my God, not my specialty at all. So I would ask any other financier if they know if that is just part of how earnings on investments have been going. I mean, that's going to drop down now that we took $1 million out of there. But yes, we've been doing really well.
I think that may be more of a Mark Moon type questions.
That's a deflect question right there, Tom. Or deflect answer. That's okay. That's okay.
I think Jeff was looking for a financial advisor, Nina. Be careful.
I'm sorry, I'm better with plants.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioner? None?
Good report.
Thank you,
Well
Lena.
done, kids. Well done.
Nice to
Thank
see
you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Nina.
Take care.
We have two revised plans. The first one is Pamela Wright and SE3-6019. Arlene?
Good afternoon, Arlene Wilson, AM Wilson Associates for Ms. Randon. And I will share my screen. There we go. So some of you may recall this project as the boathouse construction at 117 Eel River Road. And the boathouse is up, the timber ramp is up, the grading is coming. And we went to start some of the mitigation planting and discovered that the stand of rugosa rose, which had been down here close to the edge of the beach, had gotten very happy and decided to expand into the area that we had proposed for mitigation. So what we're requesting is to shift the mitigation somewhat to the east. So this area now is all field grasses, as was this area originally. If I had my druthers, I'd probably take out the Rosa rugosa and keep to the original location. But I suspect the commission would prefer that we not trample on the Rosa rugosa. This sheet also shows the removal of a couple of small, one dead, one almost dead oaks. You may recall from a month or so ago, I was in with the property further to the east on the road to take down some big oaks that had crypt gall wasp. And these two little trees have apparently had the same problem. Their removal has been approved administratively. and we're going to put in a couple of shads over on the property line. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arlene. Question from the commissioner. Bill?
Yeah, where you're proposing to put in the new mitigation, which is kind of along the side of the property, I wondered, would it be better for the resource, for the coastal waters and whatnot, if you put it on the other side of the boat shed? You have those two little, I don't know what you call them, bushes down there on the corner that you just at the very end. That, yeah, right there. To the left, if you can't you put it further down towards the water? You know what I mean? Because
we've already got some mitigation going in over there.
But what about see, you've got that MMR? It's like 5 bushes right there.
Yeah,
that right there. If you go to the right, what is to the right of that? Is it possible to stuff something in there? I see that you used to have an existing, it says existing maintained path, but now you've relocated that path so that it now goes to the walkway, timber ramp, et cetera. So I wondered, might it be tucked in closer to the coastal resource?
Yeah, there are a couple of large older trees in here with very large canopies. You probably can't tell if you went down there recently, but they spread quite a lot of shade, and they provide reasonably good habitat by themselves. The root mat spreads quite a bit, and so finding locations to put the plants in and around them would probably be difficult, Bill. Putting a shrubby edge in this location is going to provide some additional protection for the adjacent wetland, as well as some protection for the building itself.
I didn't have a chance to make a site visit, so if any other commissioners did, they might follow up or not. But thank you for your response.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions from the commissioner? Seeing none. Could I have a motion to approve the revised plan as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And Sampu.
Aye.
And that is unanimous. It has passed.
Thank you. Good luck, Arlene. The next revised plan is Anthony Peldelia, SE3-6202. Roy?
Yeah, good afternoon or morning. I'm in a different time zone. So the reason for the change in plan was the contractor, while reconstructing the revetment and the jetty, started to explore repairing the old concrete ramp that was there. I can share my screen if
you can, yeah.
Do that. This one. Share. So in this area right here, there was a pre-existing very big concrete ramp that had a big crack in it. And then Denny from Easy Dozer, while he was rebuilding everything else, said, he couldn't fix it. So the owner's actually Anthony Pelletier's mother, who's probably about 90 or so, and her son, who's the applicant, asked if we could substitute granite stairs in riprap in that same area, in the same footprint in there, so they would be able to access the shoreline there, because right now there's no way to get down to the water. Everything's too steep. That's the simple request, same footprint. Any questions can be answered. We just, from an engineering standpoint, we can't fix that big block of concrete. We would just, if it was denied, we would just leave it there the way it is.
Thank you. Any question from the commissioner?
Quickie.
John?
Just a quickie, I assume that you're gonna pull out that old stuff and get it out of there, right? Not dump it in the water, just get all that old cement out of there.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question from the commissioner? Ed, I think you or Brady went to the site, right?
Yeah, Brady got pictures there today. It looks stable, and I would agree they could certainly it's a good project to replace that ramp. Then.
Thank you. Any other question from the commissioner? None. Could I have a motion to approve the revised plan as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
DeMello,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and that is unanimous.
Thank you for your time.
Rob. Good luck.
Bye.
We have two warning letters. Let me first read the first one, and then let me go to Brady and see what question do you guys have. Tom Frederick, Joan Frederick Trustee and Joan Frederick Trust, 25 Jubilations Way, Osterville, map 098, parcel 063, alteration of a wetland resource area and the buffer to a wetland resource area, vegetated wetland by cutting vegetations. Any question for Brady on this? If not, let me read the second one. The second one is Margaret H. Rowlands, 1692 South County Road, Osterville, map 098, parcel 013, alteration of a wetland resource area and the buffer to a wetland resource area, vegetated wetlands by cutting vegetations. Any question for Brady? No. And then we're going to the enforcement order. James E. Hawley Jr., 259 Main Street, West Barnstable, map 134, parcel 013, alteration of a buffer to a wetland resource area, vegetated wetland by cutting unpermitted hardscapes, including a patio, paver walkway, and failure to request a certificate of compliance for SC3-4947. Brady?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this property is off 6A in West Barnstable. There's a bunch of resources around, but the relevant one is this wetland just southeast of the property. It kind of extends from the marshes along 6A. And we have an approved plan for this from a while back now, but it just shows that there's this BVW kind of right over the fence line on this property, putting the house entirely in the 100-foot buffer, and the 50-foot cuts right through the house. So I had gotten a complaint that there was work going on here, so I reached out to the homeowner and scheduled a visit. They were intending to put in some paver walkways and patios, and they're about halfway through the project. This is what they did put in, what's under this deck here, and this shell and paver walkway with cobble on the sides. They were also going to put in a walkway on the north side of the house, which is in the 50 to 100-foot buffer, but the only work that was done thus far was within the 50. And off to the left here, past this, the little vehicle is kind of the edge of the wetland, just after it drops off behind these bushes. So I'm also asking, or part of the issue is that there's a COC that has not been closed. It's for the same plan that I showed earlier. With tolling, it expired in 2018, and one of the previous conservation assistants had discussions with the homeowner about it, but nothing ever came of it, seemingly, based on our records. So part of the enforcement order is to close that COC, but also for the patio and walkway that are there now and for the future stuff. I'm asking for a notice of intent, but giving them the option to remove and restore it by the same date if they choose to do so. Everything should be done by March 18th, 2026. I'll take questions. And I believe James Hawley, who's the homeowner, is in the meeting.
Thank you, Brady.
Yep.
Homeowner James, you understand what we're asking you with this enforcement order?
Commissioner Lee, it's Paul Revere with Mr. Hawley. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yep.
I only bring that up because I've talked to Jim about this and he's well aware, so he's been guided. But Jim, you can answer the question.
Yes, I understand what you're asking of me there. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And you're okay with it, right? You're okay with it?
Yes.
Yeah, we're fine with it. The one thing that's come up, and I don't remember if I said it to Mr. Hill when I talked to him this afternoon, is the original project was done by Jack Vaccaro, was the consultant, and Dave Tulane was the engineer, PLS, and I can't raise Dave, and I think he may have retired, and Dan Ojala, I asked him, he could not raise him either. So we're trying to find out whether we can get the old data and some of the plans. Dave Vaccaro closed up his own shop. He's now with Epsilon. So our biggest concern is working with the March 18th date, because we're going to may have to line up a completely new surveyor and consultant. But it's a fairly easy delineation because it's an old cranberry bog. So where the wetland ends is pretty straightforward. That's all.
No, totally understand. You know, as we are getting older, I notice a lot of people, my friends retire and all that stuff. So I totally understand what you come up with. So,
yeah.
You know, so if there's any situations that you need a little bit more time, we can do that. So just information. Any question from the commissioner to Brady? No?
I think Pete had his hand up at one point. I don't know if he still had it up or not.
No, I don't. It got answered.
Okay. Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tampu,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Hearn, aye. DeMello,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous. It has passed.
Thank you. Thank you for working with Brady on this.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you,
Thank you very
Counselor.
much.
Yes. We have 3 RDAs this afternoon. The first one is Andre Yarmouth to construct 22 by 8 front porch at 33 Island View Road, Hyannis, as shown on the Assessors Maps 325, parcel 179. Who is the Carlota?
Hi guys. Yeah.
Hi. Can you talk about your projects, or do you want to just take questions? This is a flood zone only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're trying to add a porch, right, 8-foot deep by 22-foot wide to the front gable. To break down the look a little bit and create some sitting area. So trying to see if this is something my client, can do on his property. So that's a question to you guys now, because I think we have a setbacks from the front line, right? So I don't know. It looks like technically we can do it. The question is, you guys, the building department have no problem to issue the permit, but they need approval from you guys. So,
thank you. And like I said, this is in the flood zone only, so it's fairly straightforward. Any question from the commissioner? None? Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second?
Tom,
Yeah.
Before you go, I just do want to let you know, I believe there is a wetland just north and east of this property as well. So it's outside the 50, but just to let you know, it's not just flood zone.
Okay.
Is that across the street, Ed? Would that be?
Yeah, Brady, do you by any chance have a? I don't have the property or map in front of me, so
I had the building permit for this. There's a wetland across the street to the east, and it borders a wetland just across the property boundary to the north.
It's across the street. Okay.
So two wetlands. It's in, I believe it's in the 50 to 100 to both of them.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Ed, for bringing that up. So I make the motions.
It was seconded.
Roll call.
All right. Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Aye.
And that's unanimously passed.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. The next RDA is C.J. Riley Builder, Inc. Rents and replace single-family dwelling with decks, stops, stairs, and associated utility appurtenances and landscaping at 686 South Main Street, Barnstable, as shown on Assessors Map 186, Parcel 037-001. Chuck?
Good afternoon, Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm going to share my screen with you if that's all right.
Yep.
Let me know when that pops up for you. Is that showing on your side?
Yes.
Great. So just run through this real quick. We're proposing to construct a new single-family dwelling. As you said, decks, steps with associated appurtenances, utility trenching, and landscaping within the same general location. We've provided gutters and downspouts to run into dry wells to recharge any stormwater. And the construction is in the buffer to the state defined coastal bank only with no increase in footprint. We've shown the wetlands as per the approved plan under SE 35475. So we're within the 50 foot of the state coastal bank only. We're keeping the existing vegetation and septic system inside of a work limit, which I've shown on the plan labeled LW, kind of runs around the vegetation as well as the existing septic. The work limit is all outside of the 50-foot buffer, and the 50-foot buffer for the most part is completely native. We've provided no proposed structure inside of the 100 feet to the wetland, and we've proposed no expansion in hardscape. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any question from the commissioner on this? Any comment, questions? None? 10:18, any public comment on this one?
None.
None?
I was expecting some boxing gloves. I can live with this.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Hearn. Aye. DeMello.
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. It's good to see all you guys. It's nice
Yep.
to see you on here, Rob. I don't think I've seen you on here yet.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Chuck.
The last RDA of the afternoon is Yachtsman's Condominium Trust, hand pulling of invasives on the Doom Beach area behind Unit 140 and 500 Ocean Street, Highness, as shown on Assessors Map 324, Parcel 040. That's ODJ. Tom.
Yeah, this is Dan Scialetti, spokesman for the Yachtsman condos, and Tom Doherty, as trustee, is here also. Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. I
just want to reiterate our proposal that we basically Say again?
He said he's on the phone.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I'm on the phone.
Yeah. So what our request is, there's a lot of invasive species, specifically the knapweed, that's really suffocating the beach grass that's grown in the dune right adjacent to the Hyannis Yacht Club on our beach behind the condo units. And we'd like permission to do hand pulling of the knapweed and any other invasives that we see in there. The only question I have at this time for the commissioners is, what kind of professional do we need to do the actual hand pulling? I've been advised by the Conservation Department that we couldn't use volunteer unit owners to do this, although they have volunteered. But I don't see why, unless there's some objection, we can't get a local landscaping service that obviously knows the species concerned to do the hand pulling on behalf of the association.
Let me check, Ed, what is
there's not an issue of any qualified professional, so that would certainly include a local landscaper, as long as they are hand pulling the knapweed. That would be sufficient. Then just the landscaper, not any. There's no need for a SERP certified person.
Well, thank you. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question? Oh, Pete?
Although I myself have never tried pulling knotweed, I am aware of how vigorous it can grow. What is the root system like of a knotweed? Is it something, again, I'm ignorant of this, is it something that can be effectively hand pulled without creating a huge mess?
And just for clarification, Pete, this is knapweed, K-N-A-P, knapweed, not weed.
Good, thank you. I just heard it.
It makes a huge difference.
Good, thanks.
John?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if this is approved as a negative determination with a condition that Ed be informed and approve of who the landscape company is that is retained. Otherwise, volunteers can be pulling out everything, and we don't want that. So.
Understand.
Yeah. Any other questions from the commissioner? None?
I have one. My question is it going to be maintained yearly? Like, is this going to be a yearly thing you do? Biannual?
I personally think that's a great idea because it, would certainly prevent it from going back year after year, subject to Ed and, Brady's approval. We could do that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a good point that Rob raises, because this would be a continuing right.
I would say, do it twice a year, once a year, just to stay on top of it so it doesn't come back or come back as bad.
Excellent recommendation, Rob.
Thank you.
Is that an ongoing thing, or this? Well, this out there is it a 3-year thing, or no?
Yeah, it's RDAs cover 3 years, and you can give up to 5 years if you specifically state that.
Okay.
It's a negative determination. We're denying jurisdiction. It's basically what we're saying.
Yeah.
But Rob's suggestion, I think Pete and I would agree with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
10:18. Any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination and allow this permits to go for 5 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu. The motion passes.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have 5 NOIs. The first one is Diego L. Gaella Ayala, proposed modular retaining wall and buffer zone restoration at 67 Huckleberry Lane, Marston's Mill, as shown on Assessors Map 102, parcel 188. Justin?
Well, Chairman Lee, for Justin Lamoureux, Strong Tree Engineering, representing the applicant, Diego Ayala. Tom, can I share my screen? Would that be okay?
Yes, please.
All right. How's that? Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So this was an enforcement order. There was an existing dry laid stone wall along the driveway. The driveway is shown here. Existing driveway, fairly small lot, 10,000 square feet. The owner started to remove the failing stone wall along the driveway, and an enforcement order was issued. We were hired in November, so our wetland scientist, John McGrath, met with Brady Hill, and the mitigation, as you see here, was discussed. So just for existing additions, the wetlands here to the west, along the western portion of the property. Driveway is mentioned up here to the east. The new retaining wall I have shown in orange. So this will be a modular concrete retaining wall as proposed. The applicant is requesting to install stairs, which are shown here in red, right adjacent to the existing house. For mitigation, we're proposing the dry well in the existing driveway. So that'll take the front of the house from the gutters, so the roof and the gravel driveway will collect and infiltrate. And then we are proposing mitigation from the impact of the work that was completed. So we'll have a silt sock along the wetland edge. There is an existing silt fence in place along where the applicant started to remove the wall. So that will remain. That'll be the limit of the work for the wall. And then we are showing 1,000 square feet of restoration, which accounts for 4-to-1 for the stairs, the impervious stairs, and then the disturbance that was caused as part of the enforcement order. But happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Justin. Justin, what is the date on your plan?
Because so our revised plan was I talked to Edwin 2 days ago, and he wanted to beef up the restoration area, so we discussed that. So this new plan is dated 12/4/25.
12/4/25. Yeah, because it looks different from the previous plan that I have.
Yes. Same layout of the proposed features. The mitigation area grew by double.
Right. Ed, do we need demarcations?
Yeah, I was going to say the only other thing I could see that you would ask for would be the demarcation along the mitigation, the landward side of the mitigation area, mitigation/restoration area.
Okay. So Justin, we'll be looking at a revised plan to show the demarcations.
Yep, that's perfectly fine. Sure.
Yeah. Any other question from the commissioner, Bill?
Yeah, I was not here on July 15th when this project was discussed for the first time, I guess. And I made a visit to the site yesterday. And I'm wondering, what was this? Is this an expansion of the driveway? As I understand it from what I just heard, was that there was a stone wall. The stone wall perhaps was giving way, and now you want to put in a retaining wall. But is there a widening of that driveway?
Nope, not really way. So it's going right back where it was. The only difference is it's tied off to these proposed steps. So the excavation was for removing the existing dry laid stone wall. So the driveway has not changed in any way.
So you're not expanding out into the 0 to 50 buffer. So right now you have a fairly deep trench, which I'm assuming you're using to put in the retaining wall, and then you're filling the trench in. Is that true?
Yeah, it's going back in pretty much the same footprint as what the previous wall.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's like a trench in there where I think you're putting in a wall. I noticed that, the whole house and everything is built practically right in the 0 to 50. And I found the mitigation area really, really narrow. And if you look at this and you look at the, it's like 5 feet wide in some places, 5, 6, 7 feet wide. I wondered if it's possible where on the far right, where the mitigation area is heading out towards the Huckleberry Lane, whether you might not extend it as far to the right in this figure, but maybe pad it a little bit more in the area closer to the resource. In particular, where there's almost like a V in the mitigation zone, is it possible to take some of that stuff which is to the right of where your cursor is and sort of stick it in the trough of that V, thereby being it's really close. I mean, the wetland is like right there. You practically built right on the wetland. It's not much of a mitigation zone. I would think that might be a better placement, and it didn't seem like it'd be really, I mean, far be it from me to decide that, but it seems like you're not going to be using that little area where I'm proposing you might and put more mitigation. Is that a reasonable thing to do?
There is an existing fence there so a backyard area, and we are working with that fence. But yeah, that's a reasonable request.
I'm not talking about the fence. I'm just talking about right in that trough, the trough of where where your cursor comes. Yeah, right in there. Just sort of fill in that area using the mitigation area that you'd be using out closer to Huckleberry Lane.
Yes, pull this area.
Pull that area, kind of tuck it in there, because it doesn't look like you'd be using it, and that's so much closer to
the resource.
To the resource.
Yep, that's a reasonable request. I think the applicant would be fine with that.
I just wanted to, for the record, I live in Marston's Mills as well, and I was thinking in that neighborhood, that wetland is probably of some real value should a hurricane or a major nor'easter come, because that's a pretty good little wetland for flood storage in that neighborhood, which is so heavily developed, if you will. So it's
it's taking the road runoff, as you can see here. There's a little head wall here, but
right.
Anyway, I'd like to try to improve the positioning of it, and also have some demarcation, a really clear demarcation.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
By looking at the grades here, everything says 57. If I'm reading this correctly, am I correct in saying that the grade will be?
It's the top of the wall, correct? Yep.
So how below the wall is the top of the driveway?
The driveway's at 57. The bottom of the wall is at 51. The wetland's at around 47, elevation 47.
Okay. So with this driveway, when you're all done, is it going to be relatively flat?
It's going to be pretty much exactly how it is right now. It'll all pitch to that new dry well. So there'll be just...
That's my concern. My concern is that dry well and how close it is to the wall.
Yep.
Is there any way you could try to push it, like either closer to the house lawn area or towards the road a little more, like pitch the driveway to the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly shallow. You do have the water service, as you can see right here. We were trying to avoid, but the back of the wall will have an under drain also.
So you'll have the pipe sock on the base of it?
Exactly.
And then what? Where does it go? Does it go to daylight? Does it go to something else?
Yeah, it'll daylight right over here and right at the end here.
Okay, I see the 300 gallon. I always think a worst case scenario, especially if you're doing downspouts plus driveway drainage into 300 gallons. That's not really a lot. Just a little concern I have about a lot of water in that one area near the wall. But that's just me. Something to think about.
This dry well is a 4x4 concrete infiltration chamber.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, very minor, quick question. The plan I'm looking at had the old plan had a wood mulch in the restoration area. Is that removed under this new plan? The wood mulch?
Correct. Yes. Ed asked, so we'll just do mulch on the drip line,
Okay.
and then there's a restoration mix, a wildlife mix, conservation mix everywhere else.
Super. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. So Justin, I'm looking for a revised plans with a new location. You are shifting the mitigation planting a little bit and adding a demarcations on that mitigation area. Right?
Correct. Yep. Thank you.
Could I have a motion to approve this project with receipt of a revised plan showing the new location of the mitigations plus the demarcations and the 3 years annual report for 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Good luck, Justin.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Yep. The next NOI is Gregory Labont and Elaine Kirschmans. After the facts filing for construction of a patio at 12 Pond Street, Sanderville, as shown on the Assessors Map 230, parcel 088. And this is John.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicants. I believe they may also be in the meeting room. I'll work on bringing up my plan for you on my screen. As you indicated, this project site is at 12 Pond Street in Centerville. It's about a 1/4 acre of land on Melody Pond, which then connects to Lake Waquaket. The applicants purchased this property in January of 2025. They had initially been told the house was connected to sewer, and then they found out that it was not. And basically, as they showed up to the closing, tight tanks were being installed in the backyard, and it looked like this. Of note, I just sort of show the work limit. We'll flip. There had been a deck and a patio in the back to the right of this photo, I guess I would say. Switching to the plan. So they replaced what had been the former deck and patio with a new patio. They stayed within the limit of work that had been marked out there. They are obviously new to the area. They weren't aware of that there may be other buffer zone considerations. They were issued an enforcement order in January of this year and advised to file a notice of intent. So we are here seeking approval for this as-built patio. As I indicated, we are within the buffer zone to Melody Pond in the bordering vegetated wetland along it. We have provided buffer zone calculations. If you went to the site around the patio, there is about a 6-foot kind of additional gravel area. Part of the plan is to remove the majority of that to lessen the amount of hardscape. But we have provided the required mitigation, maintaining just kind of the access to the pond front around the dock. We have demarcation shown on the plan. A little bit of that gravel edge will remain as drainage for the patio. It was obviously in a disturbed area. It was historically a disturbed area. The house has been there since the 60s. But I don't think it's had any impact on the wetland resource itself. And I think that if approved, this mitigation area will be an improvement to that buffer zone area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Ed, do you have any comment on this one?
No, I think it's a good plan given the circumstances. They've provided the mitigation that's required. It is a disturbed site. The 50 foot is completely disturbed as well. I think it's just, sufficient that they're living up to the letter of and intent of the commission. So I think it's a good plan.
Thank you, Ed. Bill?
Yeah, I visited the site and I was a little unclear about the mitigation area where it actually is defined. There is on the lower, in looking at this plan that we have in front of us, on the lower boundary, there's an old fence. And I'm wondering, does this mitigation extend over literally to that fence? That's one question.
It does. I believe we put markers kind of on the landward end of it, but then the far end of it's going to the fence.
It didn't, kind of where your little stakes were, it looked almost like you were maybe ending kind of in a way parallel with that gigantic tree. And they've got like a 4 foot at least diameter tree there, but you are going all the way over.
To the fence.
And a similar question, in the area that basically goes over towards the beach, there's the water's edge. There's a area that looks like it's gotten some sand deposited, artificial beach situation there. And the extent of the mitigation area, does it extend over to those rather there's like 2 clumps of large trees that are there? Do you know what I mean? Again, the stakes weren't literally there. Is it at least going over to those? Because I was thinking it looked like they may be trying to preserve part of that artificial beach. And to the extent that it goes over to the...
So that big tree that you said it gets lost in the mitigation, but the outline of that big tree is here.
Yeah.
And then the other sort of 2 clusters of trees down by the water is one. And so the one that's really right on the property line. So we are kind of just connecting to that.
You are connecting, right? It does go to there.
Yes,
sir. Okay.
And there was one more tree that we were sort of out wrapping around. I can see in there now.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any other question from the commissioner? Seeing none. 10:18. Any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve this project with an annual report for 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sampu.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. DeMello.
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. The next NOI is Alexia L. Fix, trustee, Fox Island Road Realty Trust, to construct a 12 by 20 open covered deck by tennis court and the proposed relocations of the driveway entrance at 61 Fox Island Road, Marston's Mill, as shown on the Assessors Map 096, Parcel 014. John?
Yes, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, again representing the applicant, also in the meeting room. I'll bring up this plan for you. This is about a 4.5 acre site at 61 Fox Island Road. We are wetlands to the south and east. The closest that we're working near would be Dam Pond and a salt marsh edge along it. We are working landward of the existing tennis court. This is all outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. We are in jurisdiction because of the offset to a state-defined coastal bank, which follows along the flood zone elevation. So this is not a buffer zone project. We're proposing a covered deck along the sort of landward edge of the tennis court. And then we're proposing to relocate the driveway down a little bit closer to it. The existing was up here and it's moving down to this area. And a little bit of expansion on the parking next to the garage, all again still outside of the 100-foot buffer. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Any question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted? Second.
Evidently, aye. Oh, second.
Okay, roll call. Abadili, aye.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Shampoo.
Aye.
And that's unanimous again.
Thank you, John.
Thank you again.
Yep. The next NOI is Laura Bass Trustee 364 Vinyl Avenue Realty Trust to permit a proposed pier, ramp, and float for non-motorized use at 270 East Bay Road, Osterville, as shown on Assessors Map 163, Parcel 010. The applicant has requested for a continuance without testimony to January the 6th, 2026. Could I have a motion? Use these applications to January the 6th, 2026 without testimony.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Shampoo.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
The last NOI is the Mass Audubon's enhancements and restorations of 76.5 acres of salt marsh within the Great Marsh Wildlife Sanctuary at 2450 and 1450 Main Street and 89 Shepherd Way, Barnstable, as shown on Assessors Map 238, Parcel 005-002, Assessors Map 258, Parcel 017, and Assessors Map 237, Parcel 012. And the applicants has request for a continuance to January the 6th, 2026 without testimony. Could I have a motion to continue these applications to January the 6th, 2026 without testimony?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Shampoo.
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you.
Did you say 26? January 26? Is that?
Yeah.
Or-
January 6th.
6/26.
I hope so. I hope so.
6.
6th.
Yeah.
January 6th.
The
Okay.
6th and the 26th.
Yep.
6. Right. Roger.
We have one remanded notice of an NOI. It's SE 3-6058. The Sean D. Martin, trustee, convert post supported piers to pile supported piers with no change in footprint at 310 North Bay Road, Oyster Harbor, as shown on the Assessors Map 072, Parcel 005. Arlene or Brian is here, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may, for the record, Brian Wall, I represent the applicant Sean Martin, trustee, together with Arlene Wilson. And as the chair did point out, this is a remand hearing. And I think that everyone on the commission knows that what that means is that this project was previously denied and the applicant appealed it to the appeals court. And in this particular instance, the appeals court ruled that the commission's denial of the project was not proper because the commission did not apply the correct standard of review. As a result of that, the appeals court vacated the commission's decision and sent it back. That's the legal term, remand, sent it back to you for further proceedings to apply the correct standard. Arlene is going to be addressing the details of the project, but if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to provide a very brief overview to refresh the commission's recollection.
Yes, please, because we have 2 or 3 commissioners not on the initial hearing.
Okay, that's very important to know. So again, Arlene's going to discuss the details, but the overview is the following. The applicant owns property at 310 North Bay Road in Osterville. The property has a fully permitted and licensed seasonal dock that was permitted in 2002. What the applicant applied for was to change the elevated walkway from a temporary seasonal walkway to a permanent elevated pile walkway. The resulting pier would be in the very same footprint and the same location as the existing pier. The commission approved the project under the act, but denied it under the bylaw, and the applicant appealed. Upon review, the appeals court noted that the commission's findings were premised on a comparison of seasonal piers versus permanent piers, and ultimately the commission's decision was based on a finding that the applicant had, quote, not proven that a permanent pier would in fact lessen the environmental impacts compared to a seasonal pier. And what the court said was that was not the right standard to apply. It's not a question of comparison of permanent versus seasonal. The court said that the standard of review is set forth in your bylaw, and that standard is whether the project will have unacceptable, significant, or cumulative effects. Unacceptable, significant, or cumulative effects. That's the standard. And as a result of not applying the right standard, the court vacated the commission's decision and again sent it back to you to apply the correct standard. We believe, and the applicant contends, that the correct standard, when it's applied, will result in a decision that the proposed project should be approved. That's essentially the overview, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy to answer any legal related questions about process, etc. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Arlene to discuss some of the details of the project and why we believe it should be approved.
Thank you, Brian. Arlene?
Good afternoon. I will share my screen. So this is an aerial of the site. You can see the existing pier. Has a set of stairs that comes down the coastal bank. There's a vertical retaining wall, which is also properly licensed, actually predates the current license for the pier. This thing is a floating bag array from the Katuitt Oyster Company. And here you can see the approximate location of the project relative to the two rather large shellfish grants of the Oyster Company. So what we're proposing is to replace the existing pier in its exact footprint. Won't be wider, won't be longer, won't be higher or lower. The float will be the same. The existing float is already held in place by two 12-inch piles. And what we're proposing is to replace the existing support system, which is 4x4 posts, with 12-inch diameter piles. The existing post system has vents that are 8 feet apart. The proposed project would have vents that are 12 3/4 feet apart in the upper section and 13.3 feet apart over from low water out to the end. That wider gap will facilitate shellfishing for anybody who wants to shellfish under or around the pier. The piles will be treated with CCA, common treatment system, to discourage the growth of fouling organisms. Anything that grows on the float, which is not uncommon in this area, that will all die off when the float's taken out of the water in the off system. The remains drop on the ground in the parking lot or wherever the float is stored, so they don't go back in the water. We would note that based on our research, the issue of fouling organisms has not been significantly brought up in any pier that's been before this commission in the last 2.5 years. Because boating is prohibited over existing shellfish grants, we don't believe that changing the pier design is going to impact navigation in the area nor boat-based fishing, because the boats can't access the area or shouldn't access the area now. Nor is the seasonal use of the pier going to be expanded because the float has to come out of the water in the off-season. It can only be installed between May 1st and October 31st. So that limits the use of the pier because you don't allow boats to be moored anywhere except on the float. We would also note that the project is, we believe, not going to result in a reduction of shellfish habitat. We've discussed before, and the attachments are included in this application, that when posts are jetted into the water, the area of disturbance around a 4 by 4 inch post results in disturbance of about a square foot for each post. As you are aware, for a pile, a 12-inch diameter pile, that usurps a little more than 3/4 of a square foot. There are 22 4 by 4 posts on the existing pier. There will be fewer piles, and so the area of disturbance for the piles is about 14 square feet below mean low water versus 22 square feet for the posts. The posts are disturbed twice a year, the post area disturbed twice a year in the early spring to put them in, which is prime spat setting season. So you've blown a big hole where the spat would settle. And then you do it again in the fall when you take the post out. So that area really never gets a chance to recover, regardless of what the sediment is. Whereas a pile supported pier, you put the piles in once and they're done. The area around it settles back. The spat can settle right up to the limit of the piling, and you don't lose as much habitat. And you also don't have the continuing twice a year turbidity impact that you have from a seasonal pier. We also believe that the court findings in this case and in the JMS Holdings case, which you recently approved also on remand, because the court had ordered you to do so, the conditions are essentially the same and the project is very nearly the same. We're changing the support system here from entirely seasonal to entirely permanent. At JMS, it was part and part, but both projects are entirely within the footprint of the previously approved structures. There's going to be no change in the boat use here. This is restricted to non-motorized vessels. That will continue. And we believe that with considering the grandfathering or vested rights that go on here relative to the position of the pier versus the property line, because it's a little offset, just as the JMS Holdings project was offset to the side, that except for those issues, as we noted in the original notice of intent, the design requirements of 703-4 are met. It's the right distance across the channel. It's the right distance from the channel. it's the right height, it's the right width, the float's the right size. So that under the ordinance, although the ordinance expresses a preference for seasonal piers, permanent piers that meet the design requirements are assumed to have impacts that are acceptable under the statute. And we believe, therefore, and any other I'd have.
We lost yours the last few sentences, but I assume we catch that. So, before I open it up, I want to go to our John, have a chance to look at the appeal court's decisions and your comment on that one, John.
Thank you, Arlene. Could you go back to the full screen?
Sure.
Okay, first, I had a question in the write-up, and even I think what you said verbally, it said that the project was to remove seasonal post supports and put in permanent pile supports, but you're also replacing the decking from seasonal to permanent, correct?
The support system will go to a permanent pier, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's not just changing the piles, it's then putting on a permanent walkway, right?
Well, the walkway's oh, okay, yes, you're right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. Secondly, I guess, and I tried to read this, and first of all, let me a minor point, Counselor. Superior Court affirmed the Commission's decision. The appellate court reversed it and remanded for reconsideration. And as I think you correctly said, that the court believed the Commission used the wrong standard. And as I read this thing, first of all, it's very different than JMS case. I don't think that your argument carries much there. But I do think Ms. Wilson's argument addresses many of the issues before the Commission and does so quite fully and adequately, and I appreciate that. So then I went back and I said, okay, what is the court saying the correct standard is? And Counselor, you said it, and I would absolutely agree with you. I read it, it said, the applicant must prove by a preponderance of the evidence that the project will not have unacceptable, significant, or cumulative effects on the wetland resource values. I think Ms. Wilson adequately addressed the issue of significant negative effects on the wetland resources, but she did not address, nor have I seen anywhere in the documentation, that the applicant, by a preponderance of the evidence, affected or addressed the issue of cumulative impact. So I would ask then that I think I need additional evidence addressing that specific issue, which is what the court's standard said we should consider. For example, are there other docks in the area that are seasonal that might require replacement? How far do we look in that particular body of water, et cetera? So I think absent that evidence, we don't have a complete record. So my suggestion, Ms. Wilson and Counselor, is that you take a continuous, come back with that evidence, or my view would be we have insufficient evidence to rule on this. Counselor, you're muted. Thank you.
Oh, you muted again.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, still get used to this stuff. If I may, Mr. Chairman, very briefly. So, Mr. Abadili, I do agree. I think we're in agreement as to what the court said the standard was. I have something to say in response, and I know that Arlene does as well, on the cumulative impact. My response is, and I think Arlene already said it, is that you have some very specific design criteria in your dock regulations. And I would argue that since the commission has kind of, so to speak, set the rules for the road and says if you design a pier in this following manner and you meet all those standards, presumptively that's an acceptable and not a cumulative impact before you. And we meet all of those with the exception of the offsetting to the side, and maybe Arlene can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But that's been there all along. That's not part of the project. That's not changing anything. So there's nothing new proposed that does not comply with your design standards. And again, not to be repetitive, but since you've set the standards and we meet them, there should be a presumption that we're not unacceptably significant or adverse. Now, having said that, I know that Arlene has something to add to that.
Go ahead, Eileen.
Yeah, there have been very few instances that I'm aware of where the commission has asked for that kind of an analysis. I've been involved in two, and as far as I know, there's only ever been one other, John. One of them was a job in the Centerville River that we did, and one of them was along the Cotuit Pompanesett Bay shore. Both of those instances, and I think this is in accordance with your regulations, the board was required to establish what the area was that we would need to look at for cumulative impacts. And I believe that there was some limitation on the total length of shoreline or area of shoreline being a half a mile or less. So, you know, if for some reason the rest of the board felt that it was necessary, and I'm not sure that it really is, because I think most of the piers along the Oyster Harbor shore are older. They've been licensed a long time ago, and therefore they are predominantly permanent pile-supported piers. So I think you're not looking at an area that's going to support much change in any event, but the board would be required to set some standards on what that study would involve.
I think that's if I can respond, Tom, before Bill.
Go ahead, Tom.
So I think that's for request. But Councilor, as you said, this is a remit. We are operating as we should and as we must under the standard of the regulation as required by the appellate court. And you and I both quoted that appellate court decision, and clearly it says the burden of proof is upon the applicant to show no unacceptable cumulative effects on the wetland resource values. Ms. Wilson, you may be right. There may be mostly permanent docks there. I don't know. But I know this, that, and I've objected actually to some earlier commission decisions where we kind of throw in, oh, and it's a cumulative impact we're worried about. We need to have evidence of that on the record, whether supplied by the commission, but under the law required by the applicant. So if you want Ed to work with you to define the area, we could go ahead and give you some definitions of the areas that should be considered. And Ed, I'd be happy to help you. We'll come by the office or look at that and provide Ms. Wilson that information. But I think it's clearly a legal requirement that you as the applicant, by a preponderance of the evidence, have to show that there will be no cumulative impact. And again, you may be absolutely right. I don't know, but there is no evidence on the record. And that's my concern going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Bill?
I have always had a concern about the impacts of making piers year-round. What effect does that have on recreational and commercial harvest? And this whole business we're talking about has to do with the town ordinance, not the Wetlands Protection Act. And our town ordinance does uphold the need to protect recreational shellfishing opportunity. And in some hearings that we've had in my tenure, we've had BARS, Barnstable Association of Recreational Shellfishermen, come before us and say, you know, you put in these darn docks and it's hard to, you know, do shellfishing. You know, it's really difficult to you know, rake or whatever underneath the piers. And so therefore, during basically oysters is a winter harvest. You know, you don't start harvesting oysters recreationally. I don't know about commercial, but recreationally until the 1st of November. And it ends sometime around the 1st of March or mid-March or whenever. And so therefore, if you end up having a dock that's now going from seasonal to year-round, are you not impacting the ability of recreational fishermen to be harvesting oysters? And I haven't ever been satisfied on that. It's also worth, you know, another point is that Katuitt Bay, which is, you know, essentially where you are, the town ended up having a moratorium on new docks. It became, the place is chock full of docks. And I know that our ordinance has, you know, a basic standard line that says you should have, you know, your new docks should be seasonal. And so I think it's not unreasonable to assume that if with this as precedent, this project, oh, sure, you can put in a year-round dock, then, you know, how many other docks in a bay where there's already too many docks, how does that affect recreational shell fishing opportunity? So I think that's something that needs to be addressed. And as I was sitting there, you know, sometimes your mind slightly wanders. When Arlene, when you were talking, you said, I remember you pointing, is that dock going to be elevated from the current height? Was there something that you were doing that was going to mitigate impact to recreational shell fishing or commercial for that matter?
If I might, Mr. Chairman, answer Bill on that point. The existing pier is almost 6.5 feet. We're not changing the height. That's more than sufficient, considering the fact that the pier is only 4 feet wide, to rake underneath it without any problem at all. And in fact, in the court decision, there's a footnote that recognizes that that's true. It's all, I've been fumbling here trying to go back and find the shellfish report, because my recollection is that it's not oysters that are the issue here. It's soft shells and hard shell clams, which can be harvested in the winter, but are predominantly harvested in better weather.
Yeah. Pete.
And one other thing, if I might. I've been in town longer than Bill, and I remember why there's a moratorium on some places on the opposite Katuitt shore. It has nothing to do with the fact that some town agency found there were too many piers too close together. It had everything to do with a petition by the Katuitt Village Association that didn't want to have anybody have any more piers so that they could walk along the shore uninterrupted. And of course, they don't have a right to walk along the shore interrupted except below high water. But if they want to slog in that area, and they have a shellfish permit or a fishing permit, they can do that. But that was entirely a zoning issue, had nothing to do with environmental issues at all.
Thank you, Arlene. Peak.
So just, again, a couple points, but for the commissioners and for you, Arlene, when they say fishing and fouling is the right below the high water mark, if you are bird watching, so you don't need a hunting license, you don't need a fishing license. If you are watching birds, that is been determined under court order to be sufficient to allow cross property walking on along the coast. You can be bird watching, that counts as fouling. With respect to the cumulative effects and Commissioner Abadili's very well professional understanding of the corridors. Thank you, John. It is not my field. The cumulative effect, I think what we're talking about is that if seasonal piers now all become permanent piers. Now, maybe Oyster Harbors has mostly permanent piers, and so perhaps there wouldn't be not a big cumulative impact of one seasonal going to permanent on that shoreline. There are seasonal piers throughout our town, just a number is all I would need, that would then perceive the right to go seasonal based upon this precedent. I think, John, that's what you were leaning towards with with cumulative impacts. Our town shellfish biologists through the years, in my tenure of 23 or 4 years, back as far ago as Tom Marcotti, have always told us as a conservation commission that by their professional opinion, seasonal piers have less of an impact on shellfish populations than permanent piers, both also from a harvesting standpoint and the jetting in of those 4-inch seasonal piles. It's not much different than jetting that happens with commercial harvesting of soft-shell clams, which is something that happens on a frequent basis. So we have decades, literally decades, of shellfish biologists' input telling us as a conservation commission that for non-motorized piers, there is a benefit to the environment, a net benefit to the environment of seasonality versus permanence with respect to the piles. And John, you made a good point as well. The light penetration to the seabed underneath is going to be impacted by the year-round placement of the walk above it. So those are concerns. And again, I think a continuance is something that needs to be addressed here again, largely because of that cumulative impact unknown. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Before I go to John, I think John kind of make it clear in terms of we need to get some more information as far as what would that happen, what would the cumulative effect on that local area. We may have to define what is the radius or the distance-wise and so forth. And we need that information to back it up as far as the second questions in terms of the seasonal piers versus the permanent. I think that is a further discussions and may not be happening here, but I think we have to concentrate just because we look at piers site-by-site basis, and that is very critical for us to keep in mind. So, John.
Yeah, let me just follow up. Bill, I think Arlene raised some pretty good points. If you look at some of the footnotes, this is different. We are under remand, so it's kind of a restricted point that we've got to be careful with. So some of your arguments, although I may agree with them, the courts sort of address those. And we just have to be cognizant that this is a remand and not a, de novo, not in case of first instance. I do think that what is critical is the points that Peter was raising. And, I don't know whether it's just Katuitt Bay, Arlene, we should be looking at, or whether it's the seasonal docks versus permanent docks in the town of Barnstable. I think your request to meet with Ed, and again, I would volunteer to be at that meeting to kind of define the scope of what we're looking at. But it is very, very clear, Counselor, to me, under the court's ordered remand, that the commission, using the standard of preponderance of the evidence shown by the applicant on a cumulative impact, is a very, very strong basis to give you an opportunity to go and look at that thing and come back to the commission Or, as you know, Counselor, the commission has a right to say there's an insufficient lack of evidence and we have every right to deny it, which I don't think we should do. I would hope we certainly don't choose that.
I fully understand those points, Mr. Abedili, and I think I don't want to fast forward, but under the heading of coming attractions, we will be asking for a continuance because we want to work with the commission to get to the end of this process. And so we will ask for a continuance at the conclusion of the hearing.
Thank you, sir. And again, I'm speaking for you, but Arlene, if it would help to meet with Ed or without me, I'll leave that up to you. Then please go ahead and set that up.
Yeah. What I would like to point out to the commission, because as much as Pete would like to have a study that looks at everything in the town, your own regulation, 703-5A, says, where appropriate, the applicant may be required to submit a drawing showing all possible docks that may meet the commission's guidelines within a half a mile of the proposed dock. So I don't think under your own regulations, you can ask us to look at anything much greater than that. You can define, we can work together to define the limits of that half mile and whether it's a quarter mile on each side of the waterway or a half a mile on the Oyster Harbor shore. But there are limits on this.
I think that's a legitimate discussion, Arlene, that needs to be had. I wouldn't argue that yet. That should be part of a discussion in trying to define this and, make it reasonable for you to come back and say, look, I've looked at this, this, and this is a reasonable area. Yeah. So, that's a discussion worth having, clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop. Jeff wants to say something else.
No, John, I want to be part of that discussions with Ed and Arlene too. So
whatever, yeah.
Jeff?
Yes, Tom, John, I mean, this application looks like it was 3 years ago that it was put forward.
Yes.
Was there anything in addition to the cumulative effect that created this denial? Is there something else to it in addition to the cumulative? What was the exact reasoning for the denial?
Can I address that, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Bear with me 1 second. Let me find my place. Sorry, just give me 1 second. So the commission, I'm going to summarize, but the commission made a number of findings the last time, and there were 3 or 4 primary ones that were the basis of the decision, and they were as follows. There were findings that the project would cause a permanent loss of shellfish habitat by increasing the surface sediment area occupied by pilings. Number 2, that there would be a cumulative effect on the overall water sheet. 3, there would be an increase in the likelihood of the growth of invasive species on the pier. And 4, reduced water access for fin fishing and boat-based shellfishing harvesting year-round rather than seasonally. Those were the primary reasons. But I would also note, Mr. Kashulak, sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly, the appeals court went through the decision and rejected a number of those findings and basically said that really what the commission should be doing is looking at, as Mr. Abedili has pointed out, whether there are unacceptable, significant, and or cumulative effects by the proposed pier. For example, specifically, the court made in a finding, there is not reduced access for fin fishing because the pier is of sufficient or not too wide that the fishermen can get under both sides. The court also noted regarding the invasive species that in the JMS holding, which is a pier just kind of around the corner to the south from here, the commission allowed the elevated walkway to be changed and didn't mention invasive species in that one, but then did so in the Martin one. And so the court was kind of picking these things apart. I don't want to sound like a broken record. We're going to ask for a continuance, but I would like to kind of state a little bit more about what I meant by the regulations. So the commission has gone through the process of adopting very specific design criteria for docks. And if you read those regulations, there's a preamble that says docks can have the following effects that can be adverse. And then it says there are certain design criteria that if those criteria are met, they're presumed to minimize the effects that are listed in the preamble. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here, or the point I'm making, is that if an applicant comes before you and meets all your design criteria, there's a presumption that they've minimized all those effects and that therefore they're no longer unacceptable. And so I respectfully disagree with Mr. Abadili on the fact that there's no evidence before you of cumulative effect, because we have a dock here that meets your requirements, meets all your design criteria, except for being offset. But again, happy to have that meeting, happy to talk about an appropriate area to look at, and we'll come back with some more information about the docks in the area concerning this matter that the commission is focusing on.
Thank you, Brian. One thing I just want to mention, under the in the remand NOI, part of that package is the appeal court decisions, and that is a good piece of documents to go through. And then it's worthwhile to go and reread our Chapter 704 peer regulation and stuff like that, because once in a while, just like engineer, when we design something, after 10 years, we have to go back to regulation and try to refresh our mind. What is our regulation per se to follow? And that's just a practice. Anything else? John?
Yeah, I'm sorry to talk so much in this, but the council made some very valid points. And I'd say, my fellow commissioners, this is a remand. This is not, the first time we have seen this. It is a judicial command order to this commission that we must comply with. If that decision, and I think correctly so, Councilor pointed out, has already addressed specific issues, we cannot say, well, we disagree with the court and we're going to, it's on a remand. We're bound by that decision. So I think we have a limited scope of review, given the fact that this is a remand and not a case of first instance coming before us. Bill, many of the arguments you make, I happen to agree with strongly, and it doesn't mean that we can't, in the case next week, try it again.
Can I ask you a question, John? Regarding the impacts to recreational harvest, people trying to literally get under docks and whatnot.
Yeah.
If it was one dock, big deal, right? But if you end up doing that at many docks, it becomes, to me, a cumulative impact. And so what you suggested is that the idea of revisiting or considering or including recreational harvest as a cumulative impact, it seemed like you were saying that's not valid. Bill, you make a good argument, but why is it that...
No, that's not correct. That's not correct.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, under this specific dock, where there's a 4-foot whatever, the court specifically addressed that issue. Now, if we were to find, for example, hypothetically, I'm not prejudging, if we were to find that there are going to be 20 docks that could go from seasonal to permanent, and each one of those has a 4 or 5 foot spread underneath it, and that could, because of cumulative impact, affect recreational opportunities. Okay, so that issue doesn't go away, Bill, under cumulative impact. It is clearly part of it. It is why cumulative impact is a significant criteria for the commission to consider.
So you're suggesting that it needs to be addressed, the idea of recreational harvest is part of the cumulative impact?
It's part of the cumulative impact. It cannot be used on this dock because the court is, as Councilor Wall said, the court's addressed it. And this is remand. We're stuck with it, whether we like it or not. But it can, on future, part of a cumulative impact study, in my opinion.
I'm not understanding that.
I really want to play lawyer here. Councilor, I am too long retired, but we did have some conferences with town council about this and we reviewed it. So
okay. Fair enough.
Well, that's why it's so valuable to have John on our commissions to provide the insight of the legal mind.
Thank you. That's why I get paid double everybody else.
Yeah.
Brian and Aline, how much the continuance do you need?
Well, it sounds as if we've got two issues. The first is trying to get together to define what the study area is.
Right.
And the second is doing the study.
Right.
And considering the time of year, and that we're going to have a week and a half, 2 weeks almost, when people are going to be up to their eyeballs in doing things that may be more fun, then we're probably looking at the last meeting in January for the continuance of the hearing, and a try at a meeting to set the limits of the study maybe next week.
Okay. So you're looking at the continuance to January the 20th.
That sounds right.
You can always extend it, Arlene, if it doesn't work.
Right.
And if you and Arlene can work out some dates and let Tom and I know, again, if you want us involved, but that's up to you and Arlene, but both Tom and I would volunteer if you could set up a date.
Yeah. Yeah. Could I have a motion to continuous this remand NOIs to January the 20th?
Excuse me, Tom, do you need public?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so because it's a remand. It's not really a public hearing.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Brian.
Chairman. Thank you, members. Very nice seeing you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Nice to see you, Counselor.
You too, Mr. Abadili. It's always a pleasure.
Yes. We have two easy certificate of compliance. The first one is Richard Ventura, SE3-6147. And the second one is Thomas W. Snyder, SE3-6288. Could I have a motions to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And that passes.
Our next hearing is December the 16th, which is the last hearing for 2025. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
DeMello.
Aye.
Hearn, aye. Kashulik.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And that is the end at, what is it? 4:57
4:57.
57 is right.